Donna Shira, Part 3. We're looking into the more of the encounter here. Adora, who's Adora? Like, until now, I thought she was just a figment of my imagination. She looked imaginary to you? So these two know each other. I mean, obviously, eventually, He-Man and She-Ra will know each other. They're brother and sister. But Teela knows Adora. And this has to do with a childhood incident or a series of childhood incidents. So these two fight. They fight and fight and fight. And eventually, it ends in like Teela falling to her doom and then He-Man rescuing her. And look at this shot right here. This is a beautiful shot. Um, it's so let's get into that really quick. Look at what's happening here. I mean, this is Eternia, right? This is Eternia burning. Um, this is an invasion of just the security. You can see Stratos and some of his people, the Avians, um, for all the good it will do. At last, at least try to land on, for all the good. Because look at all this. This is destruction. Adora did this. There's more confrontation here between Adora and or Despera and He-Man, the Horde troopers. Now look what's going to happen here. There's Teela's fighting. Um, Teela's mean spirited a bit. Um, so there's fighting going on. What was that all about? Enough. They're fighting. King Randor has ordered a withdrawal. What? They're killing civilians to force surrender. So they got to go to Castle Grayskull. But the kingdom is falling apart, and this will change Randor in so many ways. But this will not be learned until the next arc. So right now we're just focusing on He-Man, Teela, and Despera or Adora. Um, so they got to go all the way to Grayskull again, but not before was it Battle Cat gives her a scar to remind her, just like Dune, right? Would you have really killed me? I would have given you a scar to remind you. So that's that. So he takes her down and they go off. Yeah, that's not a pretty sight for Despera. But when you're doing the bidding of a warlord like Hordak to kill and pillage and plunge and plunder, you're going to get yours. That's the way it is. So that I agree with. They're here at Castle Grayskull, and you can see this is a healer. This is one of Zodak's people, one of the Zodak tribe, who is now, or maybe it's a descendant, who is kind of he's not a cosmic enforcer, but just a healer. Um, and then you have Man at Arms, you have Ram Man, you have Fisto, you have some of the Avians, some of the other soldiers. We've got Teela, and then Moss Man. This is Mecha Neck. You've got to. This is one of the criticisms I think. You don't want to make Teela too masculine, Keith Giffen. You just gotta make her a little delicate. But yeah, I mean, she can. It's hard. I have a redheaded character I create and write, and I want to make her mean spirited, but I gotta dial it down a bit. I gotta make her a little soft because she's still a female. That's just how it is. But Mechaneck is still Mechaneck. I mean, there was a whole episode of He-Man in 2002 about Mechaneck being useless, and he wasn't. So that's just kind of what bothers me. And all the stuff that's going on here is about trying to find life after the kingdom, after Eternal's kingdom. Uh, let's see, imaginary friend. So she had an imaginary friend, Teela did, and this imaginary friend was somebody that was Adora. Over time, that friend disappeared, but Teela knew her. So here comes the king, and here is a speech the king never thought. Remember when the king talked to Duncan after they thought King Hiss was dead, and before Evil Lynn was admitted into the hospital to be healed because she got sick from Despondos, and the King Randor was just naive. I mean, forgetting the fact that he had to fight Keldor before the Council of Elders. It's like he had been a king so long, he just kind of resumed to that role of, oh, everything's fine, I'm the king, nothing's going to go wrong. Uh, Smooth dodge, bite me. This is the way Teela talks because, of course, Keith Giffen, writer. Let's see what he has to say here. You were all at Eternals. You were all there. You know what happened, the extent of it, however. The far seers accompanying me cast a territorial weft. What they saw was unbearable. Eternia has fallen. Please, this is difficult enough. Listen and learn. The time for talk will soon come enough. Attend. Simultaneous attacks were launched on every city and town in Eternia. The smaller villages have thus far been spared. That will not last. The technology used to mount the attacks is alien to us. Instantaneous teleportation is the closest we can come to describing it. A science-based variant on our own shift conjures. And then he keeps going. The loss of life is staggering. Entire armies have been decimated. Entire civilian populations exterminated. They used civilian deaths to force surrender. Eternals was surrendered for just that reason, as was every major population center on Eternia. Many of our brethren let themselves be taken rather than endanger those they've sworn to protect. The foe is that merciless, that relentless. This is King Randor coming to grips that Hordak, the foe was Hordak. So Hordak had been a secret to only a few people, but that he was just in whispers. But remember, King Grayskull had confronted Hordak. Now in the cartoon, he died fighting Hordak. In this one, it's a little bit different than the cartoon. So it's not exactly the way King Grayskull died in this comic book is going to be something that is very Shakespearean, but very tragic, but very eye-opening in contrast to Hordak. Not that the I have the power origin was not good. It was great. It is. But this is just something else. It's amazing what writers can do. So I was but a child near abducted by one of his minions. Oh yeah, this is where he talks about the tail. And while he goes on about this, Adora is going over all the damage she's done. I mean, she helps take down a lot of Eternia, and this she does without batting an eye. This is not the 1985 cartoon. You're gonna have to wake up now because this is a very different perspective. She has done things, and she will continue to do things until somebody whoops her ass. And so it might be Teela, it might be He-Man. I personally forgot, but they wake her up somehow. She learns about Castle Grayskull and the secrets. So she knows now that there's something going on that, she learns about King Grayskull, and there's a lot of, like I said, there's going to be some origins differences, and it's very good. Like I think the way he dies in this can only be done in a comic book or a book because it's hard to do it for a kid's cartoon, and kids will grow up on Shakespeare real fast. They will. Now he talks to him as Adam because he knows Adam and He-Man are one of the same. The king talks about murals, and he asks, "Is Hordak back?" And he said, "No, because the King Grayskull's enchantment binds him to Despondos in Etheria, so he can't just simply come back. But eventually Hordak does come back. But right now he's stuck there. He's stuck to that place, and Evil-Lyn tried to get him out, but that didn't work out for her, and it didn't work out for. And Skeletor was not about to bring him back either. Skeletor was supposed to bring back Hordak in exchange for him living or being connected to Demo Man. So Keldor would have died that day if not for Hordak. So they're trying to plan out what can you do? What can you do to fix this problem? What can He-Man do? There's a little bit of tidbit about Keldor saving Randor's life from the Horde. And I guess that was when Keldor was still serving King Miro, and then eventually disappearing to go find his own army. But they talk about an emissary. There they send Despera. Here she is in all her glory. Had to be her. Speak your peace. Simply put, surrender and they all live. We are the superior force. We will prevail. I assume the offer does not extend to me. Oh. No, Adora wants she and He-Man to fight to the death. Slaves obey their masters. I am to be your slave. What am I to do such an honor? I had all healed but for this one. Only your blood will wash it away. You wretched beast, they will be brought. So, written its blood. Surrender, everyone dies. There'll be no second offer. Surrender or die. You've thought this through. So he's, if you don't do what I ask, everybody dies. So she can't just like she has to plan this whole thing out so that He-Man can't just barge in and take everybody back from her because she's holding Eternia hostage. Um, some comments there. Now watch what happens. I don't think there's a just as well. Arrogant slaves die sooner or later. You have 12 hours to make peace with whatever wretched gods will have you. Wow. She was not afraid to. This is not a nice person, okay? But she does end up being nice because there's no other way. It's how a person like this who is willing to kill people without even looking at them or just decimate cities can become She-Ra. This is the hardest story. I mean, forget that Netflix cartoon, forget the old cartoon. This is a harder one. Charming picked it up. Now, watch what he says here. Marlena. He saw Marlena's eyes or face in She-Ra. When he looked at Adora, he saw Marlena. And Marlena's on sabbatical. So next time we will look at the fate of Eternia and Hordak's eventual return. But for now, we're just looking at Despera's rise and fall is what this arc is about.